Josh Tillman in the studios, who performs as Father John Misty. Thanks for coming in and spend some time with us at the Bridge.
Oh, yeah.
Of course, the new CD, I Love You, Honey Bear, on Sub Pop is billed as the second full length, but it's actually sort of the second full length of your second life. Long journey to get you to Starlight Theater tonight, opening for the Alabama Shakes. There's a lot of this record that revolves around the courtship of your wife.
Yeah, I don't know. Courtship, I don't know, is maybe too dignified of a word for what this album is.
You know, she's, I guess one of the things that I found really interesting about this project is her role. You know, in a way she's the muse, in a way she's the collaborator, in another way she's the critic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, like any good partner.
The record, I don't think you were necessarily expecting to fall in love.
Yeah, no. I mean, I know everybody says that. I mean, but yeah, it was pretty unexpected, and I kind of went in kicking and screaming. But yeah, I mean, to me, I guess the album is about intimacy and about like unmasking, you know, which is easily the most, I think, painful human experience. And I guess most of the music that I hear that purports to be about love is just kind of some kind of fantasy that I can't relate to, you know, and I don't think it's any coincidence that this is definitely like the most obscene album that I've ever made, and also is, you know, primarily about love and intimacy, you know.
So this, so you were horrified about being sentimental, horrified about being exposed, and your wife Emma was sort of prodding you in a way to go.
How do you
deeper.
know all this? Did you Google me?
Yeah, I pulled a Google on you.
Yeah, I feel so violated. Yeah. I mean, my instincts always start out, I think, pretty good and pure, but then my intellect starts getting in the way, and she was definitely there to help. And I don't mean intellect like smart, just intellect in terms of like, all of our faculty for second guessing and trying to like corral things into some place where your ego or vanity or whatever can live with it. And I mean, I guess I felt like I was really jumping the shark, you know, like that was my biggest kind of reservation, was like nobody wants to hear me sing about this stuff, you know. And especially like, you know, I guess I identify as a cynic, you know, and it's like, how do you reconcile? But you know, the cynic thing, that's like a place, that's a space where I'm comfortable, and vulnerability and all that is not. So I was trying to shoehorn, and I think, you know, occasionally to good effect, you know, but it couldn't be all that. It couldn't be just purely like vulnerability and then just this like kind of just kidding sort of posture, you know. So she was the one who or very much was the person who was like, look, you just have to face the facts, you know, like you wrote these beautiful songs and they should just be that, you know, and you should suffer the consequences.
You know, it's so funny. I think the thing that I love about the record is that combination of honesty coupled with satire and sarcasm. I mean, you know, you can find artists that, you know, are honest and cut down to the bone, and then you can find people that are sarcastic and involve themselves in satire. But to find it all in one package, I think, is a bit of an oddity.
Yeah, well, I mean, we use the word satire just kind of for lack of a better word, because it's in such a kind of, like a song like "Smiling and Astride Me" or something, where you could say like, well, on some level, this is like it's satirical on some level because I'm including sentiments in that song that really have no place in any self-respecting song, but satirizing with like kind of real nakedness. I mean, when I wrote that tune, the first three verses were kind of written in the throes of like new romance, when you feel invincible and you can just go around saying whatever the hell you want because you haven't been tested yet at all. And that song just kind of like laid there like a beached sea otter for months, like just kind of like, well, this is nice. But it wasn't until I kind of got into some, the unmasking starts happening, and I realized like I really had no place like making these kind of grand statements about I would never do this and I will always do that, and whatever stuff that just is a fantasy. And so by undermining those sentiments later on, or just being honest in a way that actually being honest in a way that's real, like saying like, I'm this horny man-child mama's boy, and I like kiss my brother in my dreams, and you find drugs in my pants when you're doing laundry when I'm told, like whatever, like that stuff is like not cute, and really has no like place in a traditional love tune, but to me that's my definition of a real sentiment.
Well, it's a spectacular record. It's I Love You, Honey Bear on Sub Pop, and Father John Misty opens tonight at Starlight for the Alabama Shakes. We'd love to hear a song.
Okay. It's a song that has nothing to do with any of that. How many people rise and say, my brain's so awfully glad to be here for yet another mindless day. Now I've got all morning to obsessively accrue a small nation of meaningful objects, and they've gotta represent me too. And by this afternoon I'll live in debt, and by tomorrow be replaced by children. How many people rise and think, oh good, the stranger's body's still here, our arrangement hasn't changed. Now I've got a lifetime to consider all the ways I grow more disappointing to you as my beauty warps and fades. And I suspect you feel the same. When I was young, I dreamt of a passionate obligation to a roommate. Is this the part where I get all I ever wanted? Who said that? Can I get my money back?
just a little bored in the USA. Oh, just a little bored in the USA. Save me, white Jesus, bored in the USA. Oh, they gave me a useless education and a subprime loan on a craftsman home. Keep my prescriptions filled. Now I can't get off, but I can kind of deal with being bored in the USA. Oh, just a little bored in the USA. Save me, liberal Jesus, I'm bored in the USA. Wait, how did it happen? Bored in the USA. Oh,
Another one?
Um,
Or
We can talk just a tiny little bit.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you about, there's a beautiful version of the song Born in the USA. And did you realize beforehand how strong a reaction there was going to be to putting a laugh track in that song when you played it live on Letterman?
yeah, well, I mean, I had the idea. I don't know. That was a good afternoon for me. I realized like all my stories start this way, but I was hallucinating in a tree, and and had the idea for that, and then that line in Holy Stuff, that the maybe love is just an economy based on resource scarcity. So that was a productive afternoon for me. Yeah, I mean, I guess it does. It's an unsettling sound, you know.
Yeah.
But it's also like I think a lot of it is. I mean, that's how we give ourselves permission to feel things like at this juncture culturally, you know, is to be like, but I'm not that guy, you know. I get it. It's some kind of like tacit permission. So I think, you know, I guess so. I mean, I was following my instincts. I didn't expect that it would be such a talking point in interviews, but yeah, I mean, it definitely was. I mean, it was cathartic for me too, you know, and I'm including myself in that indictment, you know. Yeah, I mean, the tune is, you know, is about passivity, and I think that that we give ourselves permission to be passive with our intellects, you know, and like that sort of belittling of one's own circumstances is, you know, I think for a lot of Americans feels like a good day's work, you know. So yeah, it was just an intuitive thing.
You know, we on the ride over, we were talking about Kurt Vonnegut and how, you know, he had to hate talking about the firebombing of Dresden. I mean, he was asked about it in probably every interview for
It's
his
kind of a bummer.
entire life. Yeah, it's like, let's relive that moment.
Yeah.
Your Dresden is hallucinating in a tree, I would imagine. But it really is kind of the moment that you changed from Jay
I don't-
Tillman.
I don't really mind. Well, I didn't change. There was no. I didn't put like a cape on or anything. But it was a very singular aha moment for me. You know, and anyone who's experimented with altered states or hallucinogenics or whatever can attest to that same thing. That you know, I think for me, it's as simple as this realization that I should just be myself and I should write like myself, was kind of imbued with the significance that a realization like that should have, and that I think as we become adults and we're taught to cooperate with culture and ideology and whatever else, that sentiments like that, you know, are supposed to be banal or simplistic or whatever, and the answers are supposed to be a lot more sophisticated. That it was just as simple as that for me.
And a lot of that was just putting humor into your work.
It was just being myself, and you can tell I'm a hilarious guy from this interview. But that was just something that, you know, in my 20s I was chasing an archetype, you know, of the songwriter, and how the songwriter writes and acts and the kind of things that the songwriter writes about. And you know, I just realized that had become kind of this false god in my life, and you know, but it's definitely, I mean, there isn't a whole lot of precedent for what I'm doing right now. You know, I mean, people, you know, point to like, you know, Randy Newman or Harry Nilsson or whatever else, but that's not what I'm doing. You know, I mean, what I'm doing is it deviates from those guys, and there's you know, like with this album, there's like a lot. You know, I mean, there's a lot more vulnerability, and you know, than you'd find in those guys' music. And I'm taking these polarities and I think stretching them further than have been stretched in recent memory. And it can be a real turnoff for people, but because it's a very harrowing task. You know, it's like preparing blowfish. You know, as far as like including humor in a song, you know, it can turn into Weird Al very quickly. And I've run the risk of like marginalizing myself by subjecting myself to people's like preconceived notions about humor or what somebody who's including humor is trying to accomplish with, you know, I'm not out for yucks, you know, but humor is, I'm now rambling in full ramble mode, but humor to me is just a way of condensing like a lot of information, you know, that you just don't have time for in a song, you know. And as far as irony or something goes, I feel like irony can be really sublime, and sometimes you can answer a question better with another question, you know, than just by trying to address that question head on. And I mean, that's what I see to be like kind of the heart of irony.
You know, I have this sense that when you decided to be yourself in your music, that even though life always has difficulty, that maybe you started to feel like, you know, you'd found yourself there. And then it's sort of like, you know, you fall in love, and that's always disruptive. And it's almost like, wait a minute, I thought I had that figured out.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I had to readdress all kinds of things, you know. I mean, the album cover is kind of meant to be an articulation of how that all made me feel, you know. Like I just turned into this baby, you know, which is like not what I want to be, you know, not what I want to be perceived as, especially by someone who I'm trying to trick into spending their life with me. Yeah, I mean, it was really going back to this square one. I was dangerously close to like buying my own my own can I curse? I can't curse, right? It's very, not being able to curse is very disruptive to my thing. But yeah, it's just like when you bring someone else into the equation, and you choose to defer to their perspective on you, that means a lot of different things, and it means that you have to have like more faith in yourself than you were previously willing to have, or it can mean, you know, just that somebody's not going to put up with the ways in which you think you're capable of manipulating people and circumstances and whatever else. But yeah, I mean, I'm not sure I'm doing this topic all that much justice.
No,
but
I think you're fine. I also thought it was really interesting that after you go through that process and you do trick her, and she says yes, that you return to the tree.
Oh yeah, yeah. And before we got married, yeah. And yeah, I mean, it's a nice little story, I guess. But
You should put a plaque on the tree.
yeah, it's a good tree. Yeah, kill it with a plaque.
Yeah.
That's irony.
The way they name shopping malls after the
Yeah.
things that they bulldoze to put them there.
Yeah, but I mean, it's just like if I'm not with her, there's something missing, you know. And I mean, I really think that you need a partner, or I need a partner for transformation, you know. And transformation is what I'm interested in this life, you know. And I just feel like that's what I need, you know. I need someone else, you know, which, you know, wasn't, you know, which is, and me just saying that is the byproduct of transformation in and of itself, because my goal for life has definitely not always been transformation. It's been like oblivion, and passivity and cynicism and radical cynicism and whatever else, you know. So I mean, that's kind of been, I guess, the biggest surprise for me.
Well, it's a spectacular record. I Love You, Honey Bear. It's on Sub Pop. Father John Misty performing tonight at Starlight. We'd love to have another song.
We met in a parking lot, was buying coffee and cigarettes, firewood and bad wine long since gone. But I'm still drunk and hot, wide awake, and breathing hard. Now in just 1 year's time, I've become jealous, rail thin, prone to paranoia when I'm stoned. This isn't true love, someone oughta put me in a home. Say, do you wanna get married and put an end to our endless progressive tendency to scorn provincial concepts like your dowry and your daddy's farm? For love to find us of all people I never thought it'd be so simple. Let's buy a plantation house and let the yard grow wild till we don't need the signs that say keep out. I've got some money left and it's cheaper in the South. I need someone I can trust to protect me from our 7 daughters when my body says enough. Don't let me die in a hospital. I'll save the big one for the last time we make love. Insert here a sentiment re our golden years. All 'cause I went to the store one day. I've seen you around. What's your name?
I hope it's okay that I think that that's a really amazingly sweet song.
Yeah.
Quite moving. And actually, yeah. And, you know, so much of that is true.
Yeah, my favorite line is the insert here, a sentiment re our golden years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that was your placeholder when you were writing
Yeah,
it. And
I
you
had
thought,
just had like 5 or 6 of the most unbelievably corny, like, I will follow you into the dark kind of sentiments. That just doesn't feel like me, you know? Like when I do, if I were to sing something like that, it would just feel like I was aping this thing, you know, just this pre-existing form, you know?
see, I think you can do that, but if you do that, you have to make it a country song.
Totally. Yeah. I like that kind of stuff is, I mean, that's like the whole point, you know? I mean,
Yeah.
like I have that one tune where I'm saying like I could pull more women than any 2 men or train could haul, and that's like a total country trope, you know? But that's great, you know.
You know, it's funny. It just occurred to me that it's like, you know, we've gone through the whole interview now, and I haven't mentioned one of the things that I think is probably on a lot of people's list to throw out there right up front. That, you know, from 2008 to 2012, you were the Fleet Foxes drummer.
I was a plasma donor.
Well, you were a plasma donor to keep things going. I did run across that too.
I was in the Army from 2008 to 2011.
But, you know, the thing that occurred to me, you know, it's like it's such a good little asterisk, you know, a little fun factoid to throw out there. But you left that situation because it wasn't, correct me if I'm wrong, but representative
Wasn't
of
folky enough.
you wasn't your best self.
Yeah. Yeah, it just, you know, I think I overestimated my interest in being like a drummer in a band, you know.
It's lovely to have somebody in that's willing to leave success behind in order to reach for personal satisfaction.
Yeah, I mean, that's a popular narrative in America. I mean, that's like the same narrative you'd get in like Silicon Valley, you know, like, right? Am I right?
Well, let's just.
But I mean, in my case, it was. I'm not trying to be glib, but it you know. Yeah, on one hand, it's not quite as simple as that, and part of me wishes that like the thing had worked. But yeah, I think I came to a realization that I'm supposed to be writing my own music and living my own life, you know.
And, you know, this was all just a long, long, long way.
Covered in dandruff, I just realized.
Yeah, in high def. It was a long way of saying that we have great respect for you as an artist. We also know that you don't have to come in here and bare your soul for us. You don't have to do that.
I'm just
And
aping talking points.
It's yeah. And I can't tell you how much we appreciate you.
Yeah, my pleasure.
And your work. Josh Tillman performing tonight as Father John Misty at Starlight Theater. Thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, y'all.